comments that they couldn't really hear me, and now I've had some time to really like sleep and think about what the hell it is I'm talking about. Now, if anyone's going in here thinking that I've suddenly changed my mind, you're wrong. If you don't want to hear me basically say my points again in a bit clearer way, then thanks for coming out, and you might as well just skip this video, because I'm basically going to say the same thing again I said last time, that the game is a piece of shit, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail as to my thoughts about this. So, a lot of people have said, and I've heard this in the comments and such, is that why don't you take the rules and fix them? Go and take these rules. They're just a stepping off point. There's a lot of good ideas here, and that from there you can go towards making a better game. You can go towards making a game that you'd actually enjoy. The reason I'm really against that is because if I'm going to invest time and effort into trying to make a game work, I'd like it to start from a place that actually works in the beginning. Like, let me give you an idea. Warhammer Fantasy, the old version, 8th edition, there were a lot of problems. A lot of people didn't like a lot of parts of that game. People didn't like the way Steadfast worked. People didn't like the magic phase. People didn't really like the Death Stars. And people didn't like the internal balance between the codices. And so they went through the effort of rewriting rules for the codices. They changed the rules for magic. They did this, they did that, so that they made it a more balanced game in their opinion, which I didn't agree with. I agree that you should play the game as it's designed, and that changing the rules no longer makes it the game that was released. So for very much the same reasons, I'm not interested in changing Age of Sigmar towards being something that I would be willing to play when I could just play a game that I'm willing to play from the get-go. You could look at that either as a way of being lazy about it or trying to respect the creators of it. Your way of looking at it. I'm kind of torn. It's probably just laziness, that I'm just unwilling to go through the effort of doing so, and that it's too much to work from in this case. But the problem with this game, to an extent, is the lack of, I don't want to say diversity, but it is very similar to that. I had said this actually when I first saw it. It's the lack of interaction between models, which seems weird in a game where you're just attacking and killing each other. My problem with it was simply that there's very few things that actually affect each other's models. There's no longer like a fear thing. There's no longer strength versus toughness, or armor versus attack, or def versus attack, or strength versus... All of the things that you see very much in other games, other tabletop games, is not present here. Like, the top of my head, the few of the tabletop games that are very popular, Warhammer 40k, you have a to-hit roll, which is on its own. You can to-hit regardless. It is not affected by your opponent. But then your damage roll is based on what type of opponent it is you're fighting. Whether it's a 2-ton tank or a naked grot, how hard it is to hurt this thing is reflected by the defense of the model. In War Machine, you've got your defense value against the attack value, and then you've got your strength and power versus their armor. And for each point you exceed, you do 1 point of damage. Another system where what type of place, and there's actually influences on where the models are and what kind of effects they have to change that stat and to change the roll you need. Infinity does the same thing, very much a little bit differently, of course, than the other two do, where you need to roll to hit against their defense, but not their defense, but the range bands of your gun, and then modified based on any kind of inert abilities or cover that they happen to be on. And then the same applies for the damage roll, where you take the damage of your weapon against their innate stat plus where they actually are on the board, so whether they're in cover or not, and some inert abilities that they may have, though I don't believe there are very many for armor, at least not that I've seen yet. But you can see a trend here, at least. You can see a trend that it should matter what you are when you're being attacked by someone else, in my opinion. And by taking that away, you've made it the same for everything. You've lost that diversity. So when I had said, and I said this quite a lot, that by having just one roll and then one roll again for yourself, you could have just made that one roll. There was no reason to hit and to wound. I've heard people say like, it's that way someone can have an ability that modifies your to hit and then modifies your to wound. But honestly, you actually don't need that. You could just have the same ability affect the one roll, or not, whichever way you want to go about it. But effectively what I was saying is that there's no longer a value behind it. So going forward from there, a number of people have also called out the fact, and this is actually on Ash's video as well, that we had made a mistake. If you go watch the battle report, because it's up, Guerrilla Games Miniatures or Guerrilla Miniature Games, messing up his title of his channel. Just search the Realms of, oh my god, my brain's melting. Realms of Conflict is the name of it, and it is on his channel, which is, of course, and I know this very well, Guerrilla Miniature Games. And you can go watch the game, and a lot of people have called me out for not looking interested in being contemptful of this game. And to be honest, I am contemptful. I am contemptful of a company that has millions of dollars of income and tons of employees to make this, because I don't believe that this is very much of a game. This is, as some people have said, like, it's a good starting point. It is. But that doesn't make it a good game. And to say that it's your responsibility, like, here you go, we made these rules, just go and make up your own rules so that it actually works. No? How about you just make good rules for your game, or I'm going to go play the game that does, and who supports their game and does this, that, and the other thing. The other thing I do actually want to make clear is also the model quality. A lot of things that you're going to see coming out are going to be really nice models, and you're like, I totally understand and would agree with going to buy these models. Now, it's an enticement to go play the game, and I won't do that. But I could totally understand people saying, like, these are really nice models, because they are really nice. GW is, as we all remember, a model company before a game company. And all I have to say is simply that, okay, you can be your model company, but just don't even bother with the rules. Just why? Why even put them out? Just don't do it. Just let them play the old game. Because the old game, while it had its mistakes, was at least complex, and there was an interesting aspect to the game. This game's going to fall off, so. I'm being asked if this is in English, and it is. Anyway, so moral of the story is, you're certainly welcome to change the game. Change it and make it work with your friends, and play for the fun. I by no means am I saying don't go and play this game. If you want to go play Age of Sigmar, then for fuck's sakes, go play it. Don't listen to me. If you want to do something, do whatever you want. Don't listen to other and be like, oh, well, I was gonna, but then Owen said don't. No, go play whatever it is you like to play and enjoy it as you will. But I wanted to say, from my point of view, is that it's not an enjoyable game. It is a game that's going to fall off in the sense that every game will be the same. People have said that that's likely not the case. What you need to do is bring less models. If you bring less models, it'll be fun. It'll be more exciting. It won't be just one giant scrum. So once again, you're gonna influence it in your own way and bring your own rules into the game. And once again, they could have easily said, you can measure this against each other's wounds. Bam. That is an instant change, like a drastic and instant change. And you could say, you could go and play a 1,000 wound game, or a 500 wound game, or a 100 wound game, or a 20 wound game, and you'd have the least bit of balance in that you could see how many wounds each guy had, and it would give you an idea of scale in your game. Yeah, you could still have the one guy bring as many as he'd like, but at least then you'd know that you were aiming for a certain value. Because once again, the rules are, bring as many models as you want. Bring out your collection, which is very, very good for somebody who's just starting out. I think they're very nice, simple rules for someone who just wants to start into the game. The problem is that you're not really going to get anywhere. You're going to go, okay, let's try out this game. Okay, so I move my models around. I measure in inches. That's pretty neat. And I can move, and then I can shoot. Cool. And my gun shoots in this many inches. And I see here that I need to roll a 3 or more. And then I get as many shots as it says. Sweet. And then I can charge, and then, oh, it's the same roll. That's good. So I don't have to try and compare anything. There's no crazy charts or anything like that. And I just roll that, and it works. And then I go, okay, so now I've found that I like this to an extent. I'm going to go play it again. Okay, I move forward, and then I roll and shoot my guys, and then we charge, and we roll those same dice again. Okay. Okay, this time you brought a melee army, and I brought a shooting army, so I'm going to move away from you and try and shoot. Okay, well, that's all there was. That's it. That's the extent of the tactics in this game. So, moral of the story is, I don't really see it as being something worth doing. That said, go and play the game if you're going to have fun with it. And if you want to make it work, you'll likely have to make up your own rules for it to work. But I'm very much a person who's against that to an extent because I find it always just breaks it in one way or the other. But in this case, it's already broken, so what can you do? You can't make it worse. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to say it again while I wasn't or hadn't been awake for 30 plus hours and had just come off of playing the game and had been like a third of the way into a bottle of tequila and had loud music overplaying it. So here you go, guys. Final thoughts. I'm not interested in it. I'll likely play just 8th edition until they come out. Oh, actually, there you go. I want to make this a little caveat to my point. If GW, because a lot of people have said, like, you're done with GW now? That's it? You're not going to play anymore? And that's not true. If GW comes out with a new game for fantasy, they come out with a 9th edition that is tactful and interesting and complex. Complexity is not necessarily a bad thing. You can have a simple core and a complex game. Like, chess is a simple game that is complex. This is not a simple game. This is a simple game that is not complex because it will functionally play out the same way. Because the minute different abilities in those guys doesn't functionally change their use. The difference between a pawn and a knight is considerable in the way their game is played. But I'm not even going to try and compare this to chess. I don't know chess well enough. And anyway, more of a story is, if they come out with a new edition that is actually complex and different and with points and with ways of balancing and with tactics involved in the way your units interact with one another, I will go back to playing it because I have tons of models and I've loved the games, and if it comes up with a fun one, then I'm all for it. If not, well, that's all right too. I'll just continue to play my old version. I mean, I'm loving Wartime. You guys will likely get a battle report in the next day or two. The first one going into Amnon and his party in Wartime. I mean, there's a dead game that I'm going to be playing, and then there's still going to be an 8th edition battle report coming up in the next little while. So that's not going to be gone for anyone who wants to watch it. Just unfortunately, I'm not likely to be playing very much Age of Sigmar unless someone like that I meet personally or who wants to play me wants to play it. I'll probably try again, but I need to try and convince them not to because there are more fun versions of games. And that's basically it. So hopefully this clears things up a little bit. If you, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you've already watched this, don't bother. But you're already at this point now, so you fucking got stuck listening to me do it twice. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time, and see ya.